Basic Education Minister Siviwe Gwarube is currently delivering the keynote address on the final day of the Learnership Leadership Summit. It's a 3-day event aimed at empowering young people by involving them directly in developmental policy and civic leadership. Gwarube speaking in Benoni. Let's listen in.
Through its presidency, solidarity, equality and sustainability. And young people, this is the very first time the G20 is being hosted on African soil. And what an incredible honor it is to be able to lead the continent and being able to advocate across the world the values of solidarity, equality, and sustainability. And I want to make the case that we young people should not just be an afterthought in these very global and big debates around the world. And that young people should very much be part of the conversation and right at the beginning. And so I don't speak to you as just learners, but I'm speaking to you as leaders, as young people with a voice, as active citizens in our country. The Junior G20 Summit is a strong message to the world that, first of all, we value the voices of young people and that South Africa's youth are here, they have something to say, and they are ready to lead. And so let me share my quick message with you today about the shape of the pyramid. A strong structure that begins at the ground level, which I believe is your schooling life, rises through the community and reaches all the way to the global stage. Because leadership is not something that just happens overnight. It is something that is built over time, step by step, from the ground up, by making small decisions that take you to the places where you are today. And leadership doesn't just start right where you are. It starts in your schools. And it doesn't begin with just a fancy title or a speech or a big title. It begins with small but powerful decisions that you make each and every single day. Decisions that help influence and shape others. Decisions that can help make schools safer places for learning. We can all agree that we can't learn or grow if you don't feel safe. And that's why 3 days ago, the Minister of Police and myself launched the Safe Schools Protocol with the Minister of Police to say together we want to make sure that the places of learning, schools, which are the places of learning for all of you, should remain safe. Because ultimately, what we want you to do is we want you to be engaged with the work of being a learner, a young leader, somebody who's there to learn in the places of safety that is free from bullying, drugs, gangsterism, and violence. But we can't do this alone, and this is why I mentioned this in this gathering. We can't do this work alone. You too have a role to play. And that is why in the department we say, if you see something, say something. Stand up for one another, speak out, be the reason somebody feels safe at school. Say no to people who are keen to bully others. As learner leaders, you help shape the culture of the schools. You really do. You've got the power to shape the learning environment in your schools. And all of you can make a collective decision that says schools will be places of safety, not places where others are victimized. And so it means standing up against discrimination, gender-based violence. It means standing up against bullying. It means creating an environment where every learner is valued. And that's why it's really important to me to say that leadership doesn't start with a title, but it starts with each and every one of you making small decisions and actions that create a safer and a better, not only school, but better communities. And so the values of the G20, solidarity, equality, and sustainability, must start in the classroom. These aren't just big words, but they are actions and decisions that must be made. Solidarity means we don't leave anyone behind. Equality means that we're giving everyone a fair chance to succeed. And sustainability means that we are making choices today that protect the future. And so as RCLs, this is not just about badges, it's not about speeches, but it's about the training ground for the leaders that South Africa needs. You are the voice of learners. Use that voice, set the example, and stand up for what is right. And now you may be asking, so that's the foundation of the pyramid. Now, the middle of the pyramid is leadership in communities. You are not just leaders in your own schools, but you are leaders who reside in communities. Whether you serve in the Junior Council, the RCL, or lead projects in your areas, you are already showing that young people are not waiting to lead. They're not waiting for tomorrow. They're not the leaders of tomorrow. And for me, when I look across this room, I realize that it is my idea that young people are not the leaders of tomorrow, but they lead exactly where they are, is absolutely affirmed, because I see young people who put up their hand, who say they want to serve, who say they want to represent their other peers. And that for me is leadership. But it doesn't just end there. Our communities face big challenges: climate change, poverty, hunger, drug abuse, gangsterism, unemployment. And you may be asking yourself, you may be saying, I'm just a child, what can I possibly do? But you are not. There are things that you too can do. Because I see young people across South Africa rising to the challenge. They are tutoring their peers. They are cleaning their riverbanks. They are planting food gardens, organizing events, creating awareness around gender-based violence. Young people are moving and they are shaking and they are saying to leaders in this country that we are here and we're not just an afterthought. And I think you need to give yourselves a round of applause for saying, I am leading exactly where I am. Give yourselves a round of applause. And so I want to encourage you to keep using your voice to connect with what happens at schools and what's needed in your communities. This is why the partnership with the IEC is so incredibly important. Because part of the reason why in South Africa we struggle with active citizens or the lack of active citizens is because we believe that young people for some reason must be insulated from the ideas of democracy, the ideas of protecting our constitutional democracy, of being active citizens who can vote. And somehow we wait until they turn 18 before we can have the conversation about them, to ask themselves, what kind of country do you want to build? But you are here today representing different member states, and you are simulating the very G20 that we will have at the end of the year. And it says to me, you're already thinking about what kind of country we want to build. You're already thinking about what kind of world we want to build. And so this is why the partnership with the IEC is so incredibly valuable, because they're already inculcating the values of democracy with young people already in schools. Because I don't expect you to be 30, to be 40, to be 50 and still not being able to cast a vote one day. Because there are still people in our country who have disengaged in politics, who say that I don't do politics. I have news for you, young people. You may not do politics, or you may not be interested in politics, but politics is very much interested in you. Where you go to school, the amount of money you pay for transport, where you live, how safe it is. All of it is deeply political. And it's not partisan politics that I'm talking about. I'm talking about the politics of casting your vote and being active citizens who are really engaged in the work of saying, we're going to shape the kind of country that we want to live in. So I want to encourage you to say that continue having that spirit of active citizenry, because it's only when young people are taking true accountability for the kind of country that we have, that we will start to see things change. And so at the very top, as I'm concluding of that leadership pyramid, is the world stage. And that's exactly where you are today. The Junior G20 Summit is, as I said, sends a very powerful message to the rest of the world that we don't leave young people out in South Africa. That we understand, you already understand things like climate action, things like education equity, digital inclusion, public health. These are some of the things that you're going to be grappling with. So by taking part in the summit, we are learning how the world works and how to change it. It's exciting. It's also a very difficult and scary place to be in right now. And this is why I want to just take a minute to say to you, this is why we need young people to be engaged at the very core of what it is that we do in countries and around the world. Friends, the world is incredibly a scary place to be in right now. It's deeply polarized. It is filled with populists, and it is filled with people who don't have the best interests of general public at heart. And so the only way to change that is to change the quality of leaders that we have, not just in politics, but in business and in NGO spaces. That's the antidote. The antidote to populism, the antidote to extremism, the antidote to all that is going on in the world is to have young people capable leaders, credible leaders, and also ethical leaders leading us in various spaces in our society. So I have faith that you will be the antidote to the kind of things that we're seeing around the world. And so in conclusion, leadership is like a pyramid. It's strong and steady, but built from the ground up. And this is the kind of work that you are all doing today. It grows in communities through active citizenship, which is what I'm asking you to do. And then it reaches the world where you put up your hand and you say, I want to be part of the change. So you are leaders because you care, because you act, because you do not wait for permission to make a difference. And as your Minister of Basic Education, I'm proud, not just because of what you do, but because of who you are becoming. It is so heartwarming to see young people taking up these opportunities to say we are part of a global conversation about where the world should be headed. And you ought to be proud of yourselves. But it doesn't end here. As I said, leadership is not a journey. It's not a destination. It's about small actions and decisions that you will take, not only in school, but in your communities too. And so I wish you well, and I wish you well for this Junior G20, and I hope that your deliberations this afternoon are fruitful and that you are able to learn about how the world works so that we can together start to change the conversation around the world, the temperature around the world, and the kind of world that we live in. One that is kinder, one that is filled with empathetic leaders, with ethical leaders. But those people are going to come from this room. And so the future belongs to you. Lead it. Thank you very much.